Hey guys, Libby Freeman here today, and today we are going to go over another build guide, and this time we're going to be doing it for the Germans. We're going to do a authoritarian Democrat Germany build. So if you're newer to Kaiserreich and maybe Hearts of Iron 4 in general, and you want to pick up the mod, and maybe you don't want to play as Russia or Commie France, you want to play as, of course, the main hero and protagonist, the Germans, and this video might help you not die. So Germany is, if you know what you're doing, Germany is, of course, like a really super powerful country in this mod, being the winners of the First World War. But they do have a bit going on, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. But having played this country a bunch of times, like if you know what you're doing, it's not so bad, and I'll try and give you guys a hand. So we'll go ahead and lock in. This is standard game rules. And I'll be going over how to set yourself up and what focuses. I'll post a link to Reddit too. I'll have like a text guide that you can refer to for focuses and researches and stuff like that to get the army that you should have for the 1939 Alsace-Lorraine timing, which is what we're going for. This isn't like this is like a standard. You're gonna play the game. Alsace-Lorraine is gonna fire sometime in like August 39, and then Russia probably is gonna stab you in the back like they're often want to do. That's the usual setup. So what is the strategic situation for the Germans? So the Germans, of course, are the leader of the Reichspakt faction. If you look on the faction map mode, they have Middle Africa over here. You have the German East Asian territories over here. You have a bunch of scattered islands around. And you have your eastern wall over here. And then, of course, Germany proper and Flanders-Wallonia, which is like basically Belgium. So Germany is like, their game is kind of defined as like they're the hegemon, and they're going to get slammed with a pretty massive economic debuff very early in the game, which is going to kind of stunt their growth and allow everyone else to kind of catch up. Third International, which is the socialist or the main antagonist faction, and they're going to declare war on you over Alsace-Lorraine, which they think is their rightful clay, and they'll do that sometime in 1939. They have a focus. They'll activate, demand Alsace-Lorraine, and so you expect this to start sometime in like early July, late June, and about a month and a half later, you're going to war. So that's the usual turn of events, and then once that happens, usually around September, November, before 1940 anyways, Russia will declare on you and attack you from the east. So you're going to wind up being like, you're like the monkey in the middle, getting slammed from both sides. And that's the way she goes. That's the general gameplay for Germany. And you're going to have to go kill France, Britain, and the Russia. And potentially there's, depending on how you want to do it, if you want to antagonize the Entente is the exile faction, the remnants of the people you beat up in World War I. And they've been forced out by the socialist revolutions, and they're just kind of living overseas, kind of like, they're sort of like the Allies after France falls in like Hearts of Iron 4 vanilla, essentially, and they're going to try and get their land back. Entente, the current mod, is completely fucking useless. They don't do anything, but theoretically they would have naval invasions and do some other like D-Day like things to try and make your push into the International a bit easier. But in reality, they're good for nothing, and they're just going to fail miserably at everything they try. If you decide that you would like to occupy Britain and France, then you can take that stuff in the peace deal. The Entente's going to be angry about it, and then you'll have a post-Second World War game against the Entente. So that's how things flesh out. Like all the factions in the game in Kaiserreich, certain people in your faction can leave and join other people's teams, or you can get people that aren't in your faction, they want to join your team. And we'll talk about that a bit later. Those are like, I like to call those flips. Like they'll flip to a certain faction and pick their side. Anyways, that's basically about the strategic situation for Germany. So if you want to set yourself up for Germany, what you're going to need to do. So we'll take a look over here. You see you have these national focuses or national spirits over here that are all like, this is like, okay, surrender limit 10%, not really all that useful. If this comes into play, you've probably already lost the game. And I think there's the collapse event that will trigger even before that happens. So this is basically a worthless spirit. This one over here, you're going to get rid of pretty early on, but this is just going to hurt your recruitable population factor, recovery rate, and war support. That's frustrating, but you get rid of this pretty early. And this one over here is a very punishing spirit that basically says you're not going to be researching any doctrine until you deal with it. And unfortunately, when we look at the focus tree, you'll see that you have, if you want to do this is going to detract significantly from your economic recovery. So you have to choose, do you want your economy to be stunted or do you want your land doctrine to be stunted? And generally generally the correct choice is going to be to fix your economy first for most things. That's what we'll be doing here in this build. So other things like occupations, you have Ceylon, which is a nice spot of rubber. You have some Flanders Vallonian clay. You have Madagascar, which is like, you know, sort of useful as a naval base. And then you have like a naval base over here in Somalia. Over here, like this stuff is like good for naval power projection, but you know, that's about it. Nothing too huge. For your occupations and then subjects, you have a number of puppet governments that you have, your colonial governments, and then a lot of the people on the east wall are your puppets as well. You also have Morocco, which is nice. Over here. Oh yeah, over here. Sorry, I was pointing at Spanish Morocco for some reason. What was I thinking? I don't know. So you have that. You start off in like the usual laws that everyone gets. You have toaster economy, you have export focus. You have these guys over here in your government. I think one of these dies a little bit later on. But these guys are, unfortunately, like a little bit shitty. You know, Franz von Papen gives you political power. This guy cancels out his construction speed debuffs. He just gets some more political power. That doesn't really do anything. This guy is more political power at the cost of division organization, which isn't great. These guys over here, you do start with Manfred over here as your Chief of Air Force, who's, you know, not terrible. Agility is a good stat to have, and he gives you interception, air superiority attack. I don't think, compared to like the regular air superiority guy, like this guy over here, it gives you air superiority an additional 10%, but this guy gives you better stats on your fighters. So I don't know. Is that he's free? He's free. I'm not sure if that's strictly better, but you know, he is free. He is free, and you also get August von Mackensen and Hans von Siecht over here. These guys, one of them dies and one of them retires. So if you have like an early war that you have to fight, then you know, you might get to use these guys. Otherwise, you're going to have to pay the political power like everyone else to have that. It's kind of a fake out. Decisions, you get to invade Denmark. I don't think I've ever bothered with that, but you might want to. You move in, take them out, get the peace deal. You might need Greenland or something like that, so maybe that's like, if you need to do an invasion, it's like maybe you could do that. It also gives you control of the straits. Usually, like, I don't really want to bother microing that fight, so I usually leave Denmark alone, but it is an option, and you can have that under certain conditions. Sometimes they'll just join your faction anyways, and it becomes like a little bit of a moot point. You can see those conditions there. Other stuff, you can take the navy of your Middle African and East Asian puppets, which is... if you want to manage that yourself, I mean, you might as well. I mean, Middle Africa, I think, just has a few destroyers. And the German East Asian fleet is pretty good, but they might also need that for doing German East Asian things over here. So that's up to you if you want to take it or not. If you plan on trying to help the German East Asians win the Indo-Chinese War, you probably do. And we'll talk about that in a bit later. And then we are on the Legation Council, so Germany does get their vote there. That's it for their decisions. Agency, you do start with an agency. I would recommend starting out over here, get cryptology first, and then you can start decrypting right away. And the French over here have a starting debuff to their encryption and decryption, so that helps you out a little bit. So I would like to grab this thing over here. I grabbed the 2 radio interception groups. They're pretty cheap. Your civilian factories at the beginning are, you know, you're on civilian economy, so your construction speed for your factories isn't the greatest anyways. You pick those up, you start working on ciphers. Other stuff, agencies, you want to make sure that you get 5 upgrades at least, so that you can go and get a second agent slot, and then you can start running operations. And the operations that you're going to want to run here for the Germans are, you're going to want to make sure you infiltrate France's army, you want to infiltrate Britain's navy, and I usually like to run some collaboration governments in Moscow. A collaboration government mission will allow you to decrease their surrender limit. So when you do move in to kill Russia, if you have a few collaborations, or even just the one collaboration, if you get a good roll, you get the 50%, they will collapse as soon as you hit, like, I think, Ekaterinburg over here. So you only really have to push up to this far. But if you don't do that, then like sometimes you have to like go like pretty deep into Central Asia to get them to cap, and it takes forever, and it's super annoying. So collaboration governments are great. And then the rest of the stuff over here, suicide pills is good. Make sure you're less likely to be capped. Passive defense, getting that early to stop or help catch enemy agents. Same with interrogation techniques and like the usual department stuff. If you want to go blueprint stealing, you take the stuff for blueprint stealings. Although if you are a newer player, I wouldn't recommend that strategy. It is a little bit random. Diplomacy, we kind of already talked about that. Let's look at the actually national focus tree next. So national focus tree. Germany has like, it's not a terrible national focus tree, but what you'll see when you get into it is that they really lack in technology, unfortunately. So the first focus you're going to want to take every time that you lock into Germany is you're going to want to pick Imperial Restructuring. First time, every time. And when you do that, that's going to get you 50 political power. And this is really important here. I'm going to load a game. You'll hit Black Monday before that focus finishes, and then you'll get an event called Run on the Banks, which I'm going to show you here. For the step of the guide. Yeah, Run on the Banks here. So you see this focus is going to finish, if you restart it on day one, this focus will finish in like another 6 days. And you don't have to click an option over here right away. You have a 13-day timer to make this decision, like you see over here. So you're going to want to make sure that you let this finish before this event fires. You can just unpause that there for a bit. And you're going to want to use that. That'll get you up to 100 political power. And when you have that 100 political power, you're able to go up to early mobilization, which is what I would usually pick. But if you wanted to do a blueprint stealing strategy, you would instead probably want to pick the head of intelligence. So you have the third agent, so you can actually run that mission. But over here we'll do that. We'll pick early mobilization, unpause the game, and then you'll have your choice of whatever option you want to pick. And if you don't do that and you click one of these options, you will lose that 100 cap and you will not be able to get early mobilization. And compared to civilian economy, you're going to have an extra 20% factory construction speed and 5% consumer goods, which is extremely important to have that early on in the game. So if you screw this up, just straight up go back and restart your game. It's that important. Just restart your game. And usually I will pick close the banks temporarily over here. I don't want to take too high of a stability hit, and I don't want to lose 10% consumer goods factories for 50 days. Like that's so I'll usually just take the PP hit. The authoritarian Democrats are, as Germans, have like a decent political power gain anyways, but you will be in the hole for a while because you'll get all these shitty Black Monday events. So if you fuck this up and you're stuck on toaster economy and you drop negative because you clicked one of these things too early, this happens early enough in the game that you should just restart. So other stuff on the national focus tree. Let's pick that option there. So what you're going to want to do here, your national focus strategy, is you're going to want to come down over here and make sure that you grab finalize centralization first. Of course, we're going for authoritarian Democrat, which is the centralization path. If you want to go on one of the Democratic teams, you're probably going to want to go down this side. So you do Imperial Restructuring, you get Easter Promises, you get Organize the Youth. Organize the Youth here will clear that quench militarism spirit. So this is like the third focus you take. The reason you get Easter Promises first is that the longer you have this political power gain, the more political power you're going to get off of it. So it's slightly higher priority than Organize the Youth. Then you're going to want to do your Christian Trade Union, Babelsberg, and finalize centralization. When you're comparing the two sides, like authoritarian Democrat versus like the democracy side, the democracy side finishes their political power tree faster. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4 focuses if you skip Organize the Youth. Personally, I would not skip Organize the Youth just so that you have, you might need that manpower and you might have to go to war early, and it's only 42 days. I like to take this anyways. But even so, even if you do take it, it is one focus shorter, which means you can start dealing with your economy one focus earlier. That is an option. You would take the Embrace the FAUD. If you do go this path, you want to get the Social Democrats in power probably, and you want to get the FAUD, make sure you allow them to operate when the event pops up. And then that'll get you a pretty nice national superior factory output. But this side over here, if you come down this way, this will get you negative 5% consumer goods very quickly on this tree, which will help you build stuff up. The Black Monday national spirit that you'll notice does not impact at all your construction speed. So you can still construct pretty quickly. So having the extra consumer goods available to have some more civilian factories will let you build up a stronger industry. So I think this is probably, in my opinion, probably like the safest path to play. So you're going to grab this, you're going to come down over here, and then once you have this, then you can start dealing with Black Monday. a mistake I see a lot of people making in some of these Germany playthroughs is like, they'll grab this or they'll grab this and then they'll start working on Black Monday right away, which is actually awful. So if you look at the Black Monday tree, you see you'll get 5% stability over here, which is like, that's okay. Is that better than 5% consumer goods? Like coming down this way? Probably not. And you get down to this one over here or this one over here, and this cancels out your stability, and this one over here removes 5 civilian factories from you and gives you a different guy in the economy minister position. So both of these are bad. This costs you 5 civilian factories, and this costs you 5% stability. And you have to take them before you can move on to this next one over here, which is like your first debuff reduction. And in order to take this, you have to have finished either finalized centralization or restore the Bundesrat. So if you come down this path first, you're basically fucking yourself. You're just being a retard. And the reason that is you're gonna take this negative hit, and then you're gonna delay your bonuses, and you can't even go and actually alleviate Black Monday until you've done this anyways. So you might as well get the good stuff first and have that longer, have the debuff for a smaller amount of time, and then make sure you can actually progress down the tree before you do this. So make sure you play like play smart. Don't do Black Monday first. That's counterintuitive. Like I know a lot of countries, you want to start dealing with Black Monday as soon as possible. But the way the German tree is structured, you want to delay until after you've done your political tree. In terms of for this build guide, we go with liquidate unprofitable assets. And that's going to give us, it costs you 5 civilian factories over here, but you get those factories back from the consumer goods reduction over here anyways, for the negative 20% consumer goods. And then you'll get even more factories over here with the negative 15% consumer goods. And we want to focus early game on getting our civilian industry strong so we can build more military factories later. If you come down this side, you're going to get less civilian factories available from the consumer goods reduction, but you will get more factory output, efficiency cap, and efficiency growth. Which early game, you don't have that many mills anyways. The German factory distribution is heavily weighted in favor of civies at game start. So I find this to be overall a little bit less appealing. It also costs you 5 stability. And you're going to be able to build these civilian factories back pretty quickly anyways. Like it's not a huge deal, especially because the effective factories that you have are the same anyways because you get that extra bonus. So that's usually my pick and the reason I do this. Another niche thing about this focus over here is that this will let you proceed down to do Ludendorff line before 50% world tension if you wanted to, which I would never recommend doing unless you have like you're playing some sort of niche scenario. But that option is unlocked if you pick this. So you can come down over this way on your focus tree, get your first debuff after you've done your political tree, and then once that's done, you're going to move over to state of economy. State of the economy, you can pick any one of these 3 paths, and you need to get down to either this focus, or this focus in order to proceed to your next Black Monday reduction. Usually the one that I will go for is the corrupt steel, and I will come down this path first. We'll do state of the economy, corrupt steel, artillery research, PEC 1 and PEC 2. Military factories earlier, like a little bit less worthwhile than civvy factories, but having this over here lets you get the you'll be able to rush this model of artillery, which isn't huge because we're not going to be making a whole lot of it. We'll be playing mostly tanks, but it is something. You get the bonus, you might as well use it, and then you get a couple mils. And the faster you get that, the more you'll see when you look at the focus order and the research order. But this will line up nicely to get us producing artillery fast, and it'll help our unit stats out a bit. That's a bit more appealing than coming down over here and getting some infrastructure. The reason you go with Krupp in the first place as opposed to the civvy factories and the infrastructure or the infantry weapons research bonus and this stuff over here is you get one of these focuses down here depending on which path you pick. If you go with Simons, you're going to get max factories and estate and construction speed, which is pretty good. But at the time you're finishing this, if you look at the build, that's kind of around the time you swapped over to military factories anyways and your industry's starting to get online. And I really like the efficiency cap and 10% factory output when you start to have more military factories than civilian factories, the extra factory output when you're trying to build up and prepare for the war is maybe a bit more important than the construction speed there. Also, 10% efficiency cap is great to have as well. And if you come down this side, this is going to give you negative 10% production cost for a bunch of things: infantry equipment, artillery, motorized, and mech, and an extra 20% on tanks. Is this better for tanks? Yes, but like you get 10% flat factory output here versus this is only 10% cost reduction for specific things. And only having one infantry weapons bonus over here is kind of hard to line up to get any value out of it. To get the if you're going that, you probably want to get the stealth slaughter early, and that's also gated behind this other bonus over here too, which is also you're going to want to get ahead of time because you want to be on this before you start spamming factories, so you don't have to worry about retention on a flip. I guess I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. That's like a more detailed discussion. But you're going to go corrupt steel. You're going to do this branch first. You're going to grab the next Black Monday focus. And then you're going to finish Black Monday by getting Kanzler on the radio, finish Black Monday reforms. And once you've done that, you're going to go work on your tank technology with the military expansion, new doctrine, armored breakthrough. Then you're going to grab motorized infiltration and new textbooks. So new textbooks over here is how you remove victors of the Weltkrieg, and once that's done, you can start researching your doctrines, and you'll get 2 bonuses for mobile warfare. So of course, and you're so far behind in your doctrine as Germany that I think if you're going to go this route, you're going to go mobile warfare. You don't really want to be throwing away 2 100% bonuses and you're already behind. Then once that's done, you're going to come over here, you're going to grab your 3 civilian factories, and you're going to do your economic boom. And at that point, your economy should be really online. Once you have that, you grab experimental research, and you get the extra research slot, and then you do militarist revival for the extra army buffs and recruitable population. And once you have all that stuff, that should be about the time Alsace-Lorraine happens anyways. And after that, probably you want to be on construction repair because you're going to have to repair a lot of damaged infrastructure to keep your supply up probably. Otherwise, you can start working towards the cult of aviation focus down here, which is pretty nice. Other stuff, the Navy tree. In single player, doing the Navy tree, this is a pretty low priority. If you do want to do Navy, you can pick this up. You spend the 42 days early on, you delay your Black Monday, and this will give you events that build ships for you after a certain period of time has passed. So if you get this early, you'll get a lot of ships. More in time for the Weltkrieg, you'd want to do this early so you can have those ships and have those events before the war starts. But to be honest, your Navy is going to be good enough anyways that you don't really need it. So this is pretty low priority. Air again is less important than tanks, and air for Germany is really fugly because fighters are your most important plane. But if you want the research bonus, you have to come down this tree, and if you come down this tree, you get your fighter bonus, but it locks you into battlefield support, which maybe you want, maybe you don't. But you also miss out on the cult of aviation, which is your 10% cost reduction. And air is a numbers game, so not being able to get this kind of sucks a lot. And if you do come down this way because you want it, you get naval bombers and you get heavy fighters, or you get strategic bombers, which maybe aren't the most important planes for you, and you get air experience, which is all right, and then you get this is a really good national spirit for planes. Oil must flow path over here. So I've never taken this in a serious game ever, but I have done it just to see what the events do, and I've done it with the console as well. So if you want to do oil must flow, you can start on day 1, you can import a bunch of oil, and then you'll be able to proceed down this tree once you import more than 100 units. And then you can get these events over here to do into the Caucasus. So the usual way I see people, the argument they make for doing this early is that you can do from the Caucasus, and you're trying to fish to get Don Kuban Union in your faction, so you can block Russia. The problem with that is Don Kuban Union is going to have an event where Krasnov can either ask you for help or not, and he's going to have that event regardless of whether or not you did this. And if he decides not to ask for your help, there's nothing you can do. If he decides to ask for your help, which you can do even if you did not take this tree, then you can get them into the faction anyways, and like not have wasted all of this focus time that you need to be clearing on Black Monday. Also, these events are random. Like you can ask for this military mission to the Cossacks, you can ask Georgia into the Reichspakt, and they can just say no and cock you. So I don't really think this is worth it to come down this path. Oil you can just import. You don't really need to do any of this shit, and you're like okay anyways. Venezuela, like I don't think I've ever clicked this to see what this is, and then Ottoman dispute over here. You have to I think wait for them to win the Cairo Pact War, which isn't happening anytime soon. That tends to drag on a lot, which makes this kind of useless. So overall, I would say probably pass on this tree. And like super late game, like other stuff, like you can import rubber from and oil from Asia, and German East Asia has a lot of rubber in particular. So you don't really need this, but they're available if you want them. And then bonuses for electronics, nukes, and rockets. I mean, if you want that stuff late game, that's fine. And then also you're going to come down over here, and again later on you're going to have your choice of Europarrot or Europa Commission. And for me, like you have research speed, you have political power gain, and you have the stack of civilian factories. At the time that you get this, you don't need these factories. Like that looks nice, but at the time that you're going to be getting this, you've already cleared Black Monday. You're going to have more factories than you know what to do with. So this is kind of pointless. Kind of the big money thing over here that you want is I think Pack Brigaden over here for the extra 2% recruitable population. That's probably the best thing on offer over here, and then 2% factory output is that's nice to have as well. So I think that's about it to say about the German focus tree. That's pretty much everything. Forts, in normal difficulty, you should never have to take any of these forts, and it's not worth it to waste the time to get it. Yeah, that's about it. So the problems with this focus tree is you only get one industry research bonus. Which means your industry tech lags behind a little bit compared to some of the other majors, which get more. Like I think France gets 2 construction bonuses, and this is off the Black Monday track. So like you don't even get this until like much later, unless you want to delay Black Monday. And same with the research slot. Like the research slot is off the Black Monday path. So if you go for this, it's going to be an extra 112 days you have to live with a Black Monday debuff that you wouldn't have had to otherwise. So like that kind of sucks. And then same with like your planes over here too, and your tanks over here. 2 fighter bonuses is nice, but you miss out on your good national spirit if you do this. So usually you're going to want to skip that, which means you have to hard research your fighter too, which eats up a lot of research time. Same with the tanks over here. You have 2 75% armor bonuses, but your bonus comes online late because you have to deal with Black Monday first. Variation on the build that we do is to go and grab these things first. Like you pay the 21 days and the 112 days tax over here to get the tank research bonus first, right after Imperial Restructuring. So you do restructuring, you would do this, and then you would deal with your politics, and that will help you build a lot more medium 2s as opposed to medium 1s for the war. But your overall economy will be a little bit weaker. So if you wanted to go for that, you could consider kind of going maybe down the democratic path instead and going for the SPD, and that'll save some of the time, shave a few days off it anyways, so that this time lag isn't maybe quite so harsh. But this is only 2 75% bonuses, and you only get 1 bonus for mech over here, and you don't get any bonuses for infantry equipment unless you do Mauser contracts, or you want to throw away your tank bonuses and go for a grand battle plan over here instead. Which is unfortunately a little bit subpar compared to the other majors. Like if you look at France, they have, they get tank bonus here, they get a tank bonus here, and they can take this right away without losing anything because they have no debuffs to clear. They have their fighter bonus over here, and they get, I think, they have a focus for production improvements as well too. I think I could be misremembering that. Maybe not. But they can go and they can pick this up right away without having to lock themselves into a specific doctrine. Yeah, okay, like this is kind of pointless. Like this is a Germany video, not a France video. But like those are like the kind of problems you have as Germany. Is that your tech is a little bit weak, and you'll see that when we come up with the rest of the stuff for the build. So that's a national focus strategy. So again, summary. Imperial Restructuring, you're going to complete your political path. You do Black Monday up until the first one. You do the corrupt steel through artillery research and down to PEC 2. You do your next Black Monday debuff, finish off Black Monday. You clear victors of the Wall Creeks. You can start working on your doctrines. You grab your research, or you grab your economic boom focus. You grab your research slot, and then you're going to go and do militarist revival over here to get your army buffs. That's focus strategy. So for researches, what you're going to do for your research strategies, you're going to come over here. You're going to start working on your industry. And I'll post a link to a Reddit guide that has all the stuff spelled out for you. But you're going to come over here. You're going to grab your different industry techs as high priority, and you're going to grab your computing. You're also going to make sure early on you grab scout plane to help out with your intelligence attack bonus. And you're going to grab also medium 1 right away. You're going to have to hard research that. And when your tank research bonus finishes, then you can start slamming those bonuses down onto medium tank number 2. So you hard research this, you'll partially hard research this, and then when you get your tank bonus online, you'll apply the bonus to that. And this finishes up like, unfortunately, like kind of right when the Wall Creek starts. You'll have like a bit of time to like convert some of these models over. But not a whole lot. So your army in 39 is going to be mostly medium 1s. And that's going to be the case unless you delay your Black Monday recovery to get your tank bonus first, unfortunately. So there's that. And that's mostly it. Once you clear victors of the Wall Creek, before you get this focus over here for a new doctrine, you're going to want to get the first mobile warfare doctrine using the experience. Like, so this is only 138 days with 100 army experience. So you're going to want to spend that to get this so that you can use your 2 100% research bonuses you get from your focus tree to get delay and elastic defense. So before the Wall Creek starts, you should have the first 3 mobile warfare doctrine techs. Otherwise, you're mainly hard rushing tank. You're hard rushing fighter 2. So you'll have that. You'll have this in production before the war. And you go for your industry techs: construction, concentrated industry, refining, and machine tools. And you will line up to get the interwar artillery, and you'll get this because, you know, if you're taking corrupt, you might as well get this anyways. So you'll rush the 1939 artillery. So most of your support artillery will be better models. And otherwise, like, you're building most of this shit over here. You can pick this buff up. You can pick this buff up. Like before or slightly after the war starts. You should have this before, this one slightly after. And you're also going to pick up radio before the war starts. And that's about it. I'll show you what the research tree looks like at the war start. That's what you do for your research. Your construction, you're going to be building mainly civilian factories. You build them in your high infrastructure areas first, obviously. And if you want to optimize your industry even further, what you can do is you can wait for when this finishes over here, this will finish first because this is a row of 15, and this will set back to 0. When that happens, you pump this one up over here. This will flip to 15, and then this factory, because it already has some work towards it, will finish faster. So that's like a way you can kind of juggle your industry, and you'll get your civilian factories out like a little bit faster. Another way to do that is you just build, like I said, building 5 here, you just build 1, and then you alternate around your highest. We only have 1 line or 2 lines here. So you alternate between your 2 highest infrastructure slots, and then you'll get the notification to queue up another factory. That can be a bit annoying, and if you don't care that much, then just dragging these is fine as well. So there's that. So production, your initial military factories, I like to lay them out like this. And once we get scout plane research, I move 1 factory from guns onto scout plane. And once you clear your artillery deficit, you'll move 2 factories off of artillery onto support equipment or trucks. And then when you start building military factories, you go up to 10 on light tank. Then you put as many on medium tank as you can until you get fighter 2, and then you start putting factories in fighter 2. That's how that works, and that'll bring you up to the war. And again, I'll show you what the wartime production should look like right before Alsace-Lorraine happens. Anything else about production? Yeah, so you build convoys first, and then I usually drop to around 4 or 5 dockyards and convoys. You're going to merge your fleet together into one, and these guys are training right now. And once you start getting Navy experience, you're going to want to start refitting your cruisers. So this is just merge the entire fleet together. You move them into like Oldenburg over here, train them to get the XP, and then refit the cruisers to get extra light attack. So the way you do that is you're going to click your different cruiser models. You go to your design, and then I just go and replace whatever's in the top row with Escort Battery 2. Just like your best light attack. So something like this. So you'd save this for 21 experience. That'd be whatever it is, and you go to refit, and then you pick that model that you just made off the list. Same thing for these guys over here. Design, you would duplicate this, and then you would refit this whole line to be guns level 2. And you do that for every cruiser model you have. I think there are a couple there that you can kind of use the same model for the refit, but you don't want to be doing something like you see this improved cruiser has engine 2 and armor 2, and we might have another improved cruiser which does not. I'm not sure. I think that might be these ones over here, for example. Like these ones have like level 1 engine, level 2 armor. These refits are very expensive, so you don't want to refit your engines and your armor. So it's best to build off of each individual variant. You just build a separate refit variant. You have more than enough Navy experience anyways. So like as an example, say we want to refit these cruisers. We have 22 Navy experience. We just grab this. Like that. Save. This is improved cruiser hull D, and then we would go grab this, and we would say convert to improved cruiser hull D. And your refits should take around 75 days to complete for your cruisers. And then once you've done that, you can build one off this, and then start dumping your dockyards onto those refits when that happens. Look at that. And then it'll start refitting your fleet. So you're going to do that for all of your Navy. In terms of your army, you're going to have like over here we have 78 divisions. You start with 80 divisions total. You pull 2 of the motorized out, and you're going to convert these into Panzer divisions, and then the rest of your units you convert to infantry division with artillery, which is this template over here. And when you have 5 army experience, you would expand this into this, and this is going to be your infantry template for most of the game. It's very basic. So you're going to have 78 units, and you're going to need manpower and guns, and because most of your units don't have artillery in them in the first place, like, you will have a deficit to overcome. And that's why. So you're going to have that, and that's how you set your army up. You're just going to dump everything into one army, convert your template into infantry division with artillery, and have them group up over here. I have this fallback line. So for your army, the Navy, you group it up together, you train it, and then you get the experience to refit like we just talked about. Air you can just leave as is for the most part. Variation, if you want to use your carriers in your Navy in your actual fights, like, you're going to lose carrier planes, so you might want to fit like one factory on naval or carrier naval bomber and carrier fighter. You just might want to have a couple factories on them, maybe drop 2 off of guns and have one factory on each, so you'll build up a stockpile of them so you can actually replenish your carriers when they run out. So I think that's basically all you have to worry about in terms of like actually setting up your game. That's your focus order. That's your researches. Your construction. Once you start building civilian industry, you're gonna want to start queuing up military factories sometime around like mid to late 1937. About when your first row of civilian factories comes available in mid 37, you want to start building military factories. And you'll leave the rest of the civilian factories that you have in your queue, and usually you should be building around militaries, or you should be building military factories only sometime around like early 38. And once that happens too, I usually like to sprinkle in fuel silos. I'll do a line of military factories, and then build a couple fuel silos, a line of military factories, a couple fuel silos. And you're going to want to build enough fuel silos to get around 2 million fuel. Like somewhere around 1.5 to 2 million fuel before Well Creek 2 starts. So you want to make sure you fill that. So if you build the fuel silos intermittently, then your fuel gain will like automatically fill your stockpile up, and you don't have to rush to go and trade and fill. So I find that to be a little bit more smooth. And these build like super fast anyways. They're like 38 days to build a fuel silo. So that's that. Other stuff in research is like this stuff over here, like you don't want to be taking this line. Like this is very low value, especially early on. These provide zero benefit to you right now. This only matters when you're actually fighting stuff. And the wars that you're going to potentially fight pre-Wall Creek 2, like this isn't going to make a difference at all. Other stuff that I see people get that's kind of pointless too, like refineries. You don't really need refineries as Kaiserreich Germany, unless you lose Germany's to Asia, and then you need to get a rubber source and you're cut off, which would be unfortunate. But that would be like a later game consideration. You don't really need that straight up. Also, excavation. You also don't really need excavation tech. But let's go load up one of the pre-war games, and we will talk about what you should have. Going to be a long video. Okay, so before the war starts, you should have somewhere between 270 to 280 factories, and about 50-50 of that will be military and civilian at the war start. Templates that you're going to want to have. You're going to want to have your infantry division with artillery. It's this 20 width with sport artillery. That's going to be most of your army. You're going to have a light tank division, which you're going to use for volunteers and also as like an exploitation unit. And 20 width light tanks. This is a 7-3 template. You could also do 6-4 if you wanted to. You probably need a bit more factories on trucks if you wanted to go for that though. And you're going to have also medium tank template over here, 12-8 medium tanks. Pretty simple template, 40 width medium templates. That's basically it for templates. Your army in the field, you should be maxed out somewhere. This is like a little bit over, but the debuffs aren't too awful. I think I had too big of a queue, and I deployed them all at once. I didn't really mean to do that, but that's okay. You should be maxed out over here, and when you get to war economy, you get extra 50 divisions cap. So you should have those divisions ready to go to drop in the field. So you should be more or less completely maxed out, ready to drop 200 divisions right away when the war starts. You should also have around 6 medium tank divisions and around 7 or 8 mobile units. So we can convert these. These are just free units we got from Middle Africa. So have that, and then you have your line on the front over here. So before the war starts, you have to handle your flips. And as Germans, you want to aggressively police people that rebel against you. So in this game, we had to crush the Ukrainians. You can see they're a puppet now. We had to invade them, and as a result, they're a little bit weaker. We also had to deal with the Flandre Wallonians. Belgium rebelled. We took them out, but unfortunately, Flanders rebelled against Wallonia, and because this happened like right after I had crushed the Belgian revolt, and they killed Wallonia like immediately. They had an immediate cap because they had no units. And that happened before we could intervene. So we wound up losing Belgium. We wound up losing Flanders Wallonia in this game. So you have to watch out for that. We also did not get Netherlands in our faction in this game. So you can kind of see what the map looks like. Other stuff you want to make sure that you do interwar is you need to make sure that CNT FAI does not win in Spain. So you're going to want to be sending your volunteers to Spain, and you want to make sure that CNT FAI doesn't win. You don't have to win it for Kingdom of Spain or the Carlists. If you want Kingdom of Spain to win, then you're going to have to, if you help Kingdom of Spain win in the Civil War, usually they do not join the Reichspakt. So this is like a neutral border. If you help the Carlists win, the Carlists will join the Entente and will create a second front for France if you win the war fast enough. For the Carlists, which maybe you want, maybe you don't want. I mean, that'll take some pressure off you, but the Commune of France is probably going to kill the Carlists, and the Entente probably isn't going to do anything anyways. But if you want a second front guaranteed, you probably want to go for the Carlists. If you just want a neutral front, then you can just go for Kingdom of Spain. if you Kingdom of Spain will allow you to, because they're going to be neutral, you can stay in there and grind for longer if you want more army experience. Other stuff interwar that's important to deal with. Argentina will offer you a trade deal. You can see we have Argentinian trade agreement, minus 3% consumer goods, which is very nice. So if you want to keep that national spirit, you need to make sure Argentina wins the war against Patagonia. So you definitely want to throw your weight around over there to keep the national spirit. Sometimes if you're busy grinding elsewhere, you might miss if this war happens and you lose that spirit, which sucks, but you know, it is what it is. So there's that. China, if you're able to send guys early enough over to Nanjing, if Nanjing wins, they will boost German East Asia. But a lot of the times Nanjing will leave their capital open and they will capitulate immediately before your volunteers get there. So you can try it, but it's kind of like an exercise in frustration. Indochina in this game, like I didn't bother trying to intervene over here. If you want to save Indochina, you want to make sure that you take control of Helmuth's troops and maybe set him up over here in the north and like put like everything that he's got over there. And then take control of his navy so he can't do silly naval invasions. And then you're going to want to send maybe a stack of your army over here into Singapore. And if things start to go really bad for Helmuth, like he gets all of his units encircled, which happens a lot, and you get the event that lets you intervene, it's usually like way too late and there's nothing you can do about it. So you need to kind of think ahead, throw a stack of guys over here, and then if you take control of his navy will be over here anyways. And then you can just invade the coast, and you're a player, you know how to do naval invasions properly, you can just crush them with your 24 infantry units, and you can win Indochina that way. The problem with doing that is that you will go to war for that, so if you're also trying to grind in Spain, like a specific general trait, or you're trying to grind in America, or you're trying to, at that point, maybe even, like, you can't send volunteers when you're at war, and that can be a bit frustrating. Also, Indochina can also kind of like bite you in the ass too when the co-prosperity sphere joins, and Helmuth will have to defend this border against the Siamese and potentially the Burmese as well. As opposed to if he loses this, he just has to hold Malaysia, which is like much more defensible than this. And most of the resources that you're looking for in German East Asia are over here in Malaysia anyway. It's like all the rubber, tungsten, and the aluminum that you're going to want to pull off of him are in Malaysia and Borneo. So it's not like the end of the world if you lose this. But if you want to save it, you'd send a stack over here, you take control of the navy, you pre-position Helmuth's guys. Make sure you give them back to Helmuth before he loses over here, though. Because if you're controlling them, then he isn't, and you're not at war with the Indo-Chinese, so the units won't actually fight. So there's that. Middle Africa, you're going to get an event, and you always want to kick Goring out if you can and put a reform guy in. Otherwise, Middle Africa will tend to explode. You also don't really need Middle Africa for anything, but if you have troops over here, that'll help you garrison these islands if you want to. You have more than enough stuff anyways. Like, it doesn't really matter if Middle Africa dies, but when you get the events, like, you might as well keep it if you can, so make sure you kick Goring out. Second American Civil War probably won't be over by the time you kill the Third Internationale, but it's a good place to grind experience, and I'll show you some shots of that too. Grinding with volunteers is pretty important to make sure you get a decent general. So I think in this particular run over here, we went to Spain, and I got Trickster and Hill Fighter on Gunther von Klug. So Gunther von Klug he starts with the Armor Officer trait. He's got the Armor Officer and he's got Career Officer personality traits. He has no learned traits. A general that has no learned traits will learn these earned traits over here much faster than the general that does. So like, if you ask like why don't you use Manstein and Guderian, like Guderian comes with 2 earned traits already, and Manstein also has 2. He's got Trickster and Engineer. So these guys learn additional traits like pretty slow. I usually just promote them and use them as field marshals. And if you want to build your own general, you can go with Gunther over here. When you send volunteers out, you need to make sure that you train at least 1 additional division, so you have 81 army total, which will allow you to send 3 volunteers instead of 2. Which is important because in order to learn Trickster, you need to attack 1 tile from 3 different sides. So you're going to want to learn Trickster, and you're going to want to learn either Hill Fighter or Ranger. some terrain trait, and that'll let you get Improv Expert. Hill Fighter is the easiest one to get in Spain. Because they've got so many hills. So if I'll load up a game over here, and this is like grind. This was grinding in America. We had a little bit of a better grind. I kind of show you the positioning to do that. So you're sending volunteers to the AUS. Like over here, we're trying to grind out. We've got 98% to range already. I think I was grinding out somewhere over here and like attacking into these forests, and we're working on Hill Fighter, Panzer Leader, Infantry Leader. So when you start initially, these will be 3 infantry units, and when you start to get high on the Infantry Leader trait, then you would swap these over to tank units. So you stop learning Infantry Leader and you start learning Tank Leader instead. You don't want to learn traits that you aren't going to use. So you definitely do not want to learn Infantry Leader on your offensive general. So you're going to position your guys something like this. You attack from 3 different tiles at once into the terrain that you're looking for. So like we're attacking from 3 sides into hills terrain, and we're using tanks. So you should start to see your experience go up for Trickster, Panzer Leader, and Hill Fighter. You watch that. So those are the traits that we're going for, and that's like kind of how you would set that up. If you don't want to use Gunther, your other option that's like not terrible over here is Werner von Blomberg over here, and he comes with only 1 earned trait, and it's Trickster. And Trickster can be like a little bit of a piss off because you have to set up this 3-tile concave to learn it naturally. So sometimes it's just a little bit less frustrating to just go with Werner. He's already got Trickster, and then it is a bit slower, but all you have to do is just grab his units and just attack into the terrain that you're looking for. The terrain traits that you're looking for, you want 1 terrain trait and a 2nd terrain trait. He already has Trickster, and he's got Armor Officer, so he's going to learn Panzer Leader anyways. So once you have Trickster, 2 terrain traits, and Panzer Leader, you get Panzer Expert, you can pick up Adaptable, and you can pick up Improv Expert. And I have another game, and I'll show you what that looks like. Yeah, so this game kind of like the same build. We got a little bit better this time over here with our military factory count. I think it built a bit more civvies. So we have this, and our guy that we ground out over here. You wind up with Panzer Leader, Panzer Expert, Hill Fighter, Ranger, Adaptable, Improv Expert, and Trickster. I promoted him to Field Marshal, even though I'm using him as a general, because it does unlock one more assigned trait that you can pick. So we needed to do that in order to get Adaptable. He wasn't high enough level to have it otherwise. And once you are a Field Marshal, you also want to make sure usually you pick up Offensive Doctrine to get the extra attack point. So this is a very nice general that you managed to grind out, and we're able to get Ranger and Hill Fighter in the American Civil War. And we have Adaptable and Improv Expert. Improv Expert will give you this trait over here called Makeshift Bridges, and you want to make sure you use that to negate the river crossing penalty. And there are quite a few pretty annoying rivers that you have to deal with when you break into France. Like, that's an important one to get. I would say that's a bit more important than Adaptable. And then Adaptable is going to reduce terrain penalty factor by 30%. So like, that's great. Tanks have problems with terrain to begin with, and Adaptable like really helps them out. So like, those are the traits. This is like probably as good as you're going to get on general grind. And that's how you do it. Grinding in Spain is basically the same deal, except it's really hard to get Ranger in Spain. But it's pretty easy to get Hill Fighter. So you can grind in both wars. So in this setup, we got like a little bit lucky. We were able to grab Switzerland in the faction, and we cucked them in the Savoy Crisis. I did screw up, and I forgot to send volunteers to Argentina, though, so we lost those civilian goods, which is a bit annoying. And we did get the event from Don Kuban Union in this game. We didn't in the previous game, but we were able to invite them into our faction and block Russia in the Caucasus. And that was able to happen even though we did not touch the oil must flow. So this is like pretty much what you should be looking for in 1939. We have 7 light tank units. We have 6 medium tank units. We have a pretty big stack of infantry over here. and we have another 50 divisions ready to go at full equipment whenever we need them to deal with Russia. So before the war starts, you have to look at an important point to look at is what Bulgaria has done. So Bulgaria will cut you off from the Ottomans. If you're cut off from the Ottomans, you can't bring in land trade up through this route. And if you're cut off over here and you lost Don Kuban Union, because Bulgaria joined the Third Internationale and Russia got Don Kuban Union, then your resource situation becomes pretty problematic. And I think in the previous setup I had, that was in fact the case. Bulgaria joined Third Internationale, and Russia got Don Kuban Union, so like we were pretty cut off. If that happens, when you look at your Navy setup over here, you're going to want to pull out some destroyers. And I don't think I mentioned before, but after you're done refitting your cruisers, you just want to build a bunch of cheap, shitty destroyers. If it'll show me the... I can just pick this over here. Just like a really basic destroyer with a depth charge and a level 2 engine. And you make a lot of these, and all these do is just protect your convoys. They don't sink subs, but they stop them from getting torpedoed. So you spam these out, and you get yourself like a corridor, and you're going to want to block your trade through the Atlantic Gap, and you just set up a route, something like this, over to the Caribbean. And you can get docking rights from Canada after they join the war to have this naval range. And potentially if Denmark joins your faction as well, you get this naval range. And then you can just import, if you block off the bottom of Africa, you just bring in everything over this way. And through the Panama Canal, and then up around the coast over here with your escorts, and that should prevent you from getting raided. You will need a lot of convoys if you have to import a whole bunch of stuff overseas, though. It's like your oil and your tungsten. So there's that. Otherwise, if you don't need that, you can just throw those in your death stack. Submarines, you can use these for like scouting coastlines and stuff like that. I'd probably split this up into 10 task forces like normal, and you can also use them to spot, or you can raid if you want to raid the AI. You could do that. I usually don't bother. And your Navy, main death stack over here, you just set this on strike force to block naval invasions, and you're not really looking to take a fleet fight. But this just prevents naval invasions into your coast because you have superiority in these regions, and this should just be pretty much every other ship that you own, including like your refitted cruisers and everything like that. And pick your appropriate admiral. That's basically it for Navy. Air Force, you just throw your fighters and bombers up over your breakthrough point. And your Army setup over here, just everything on your front line. If you do not have Netherlands and Belgium in your faction, what you're going to want to do is position at least some troops over here along this border. And then you got to watch for when France does around Ludendorff and declare war on them. And then once France declares war on Belgium and Netherlands, if they're not in your faction, you need to immediately get military access from them, and then push your troops up to the coast over here and this border. Otherwise, Union Britain is going to kill Netherlands real fast with a naval invasion, and then you're going to have to defend this in the plains, which is much more difficult than just trying to hold the coast. So you have to watch out for that. When Russia declares on you, you just grab all your puppet troops and you throw them on one big front line over here, and then you drop these 50 divisions over here and you throw them on that front line too. And that should be enough to stop Russia from making any real progress for the most part. If Poland stabs you in the back, like I do have a Coast Guard stack over here. I got some units on the Coast Guard. If Poland stabs you in the back, these units are a little bit redundant because you do have the strike force blocking naval invasions anyways. So I grab these guys over here, you put them on the Polish border and kill Poland. You can also use these guys too if you have a bad roll with Austria and Austria gets sucked into the war. Then you need to immediately get troops over here to try and hold the Alps. Get military access, and you put troops over here to block the Third Internationale from just straight up killing Austria. And that's about it for your Army setup. Army setup is going to be, these are all just the infantry division with the artillery template. You have a lot of them. Medium template, basically the same thing. And the light tank template is that same template over here. Use that for volunteers. Use that for breakthrough. Let's see here. I think that's about it for your pre-war consideration. So what do you have over here for construction? We're still building military factories. Once you start pushing into France, you're going to want to make sure you repair all your broken infrastructure. Your production tab before the war starts should look something like this. We have 20 factories rifles, 3 factories artillery, 5 factories support equipment, 3 factories truck. We have 50 factories on medium tank 2, and we are converting these from stockpile to upgrade our existing units. We are going to division cap out anyways, so we might as well have better tank units rather than trying to spam them out. And once we start building new medium tank 2s, then we can start training new units, and or not really train them, but you probably want to convert 2 infantry units and consolidate them. Because you will be capped. With 50 factories on that, 40 factories on Fighter 2, 10 factories on Light Tank 2, 1 factory on Scout Plane. And then your dockyards, 5 on Convoy, and then another 15 here building the light ships for our escorts. That's that. Focus order, you can see the path that we went down. Got this. Got this. Got this. Got this. Got that stuff. Dealt with that. Come down over here to economic boom, then you get militarist revival. Right now we're getting the independent Luftwaffe, but like once you start pushing in, you might also want to convert to construction repair just to repair that infrastructure faster if you start getting supply blocked. And we do have, it looks like we have full up on our fuel tanks. We have 1.8 million fuel. And we probably want to start importing some oil too. Once the war starts, to keep ourselves topped off, because we have, unfortunately, I think we lost our oil rights to Azerbaijan at some point, or either that or it's not showing up. No, we do. Yeah, we still have oil from Azerbaijan, so we probably won't have to import for a while because we did block them in the Caucasus this run. Am I thinking? But if kind of like back to what I was talking about with the Navy part, if Bulgaria went socialist and cuts you off, and you've lost non-Cuban Union, you might want to consider putting like a stack of guys over here and moving a few capital ships. Like Bulgaria has like a decent navy, but I think like 5 capital ships and a bunch of cruisers and a few destroyers. You throw that in here and you do a naval invasion to knock up Bulgaria. And if you do that, then you can reestablish trade. It's like that's a play you can make if you don't want to deal with doing the convoy escorts and go after Bulgaria. If you want to do that though, you might want to make sure you get a Marine template, like a 14-4 Marines. Otherwise, this is like a little bit awkward to invade. It's only 3 tiles, and Bulgaria probably has like a large number of divisions. And unfortunately, when these guys do go socialist, they are kind of cut off and isolated, so you don't have a land border with them at all. You have to naval invade them to kind of get rid of them. So you either do that, but me, I would just import and throw out the destroyers to convoy escort. Yeah, so I think that's about it for the build order. You should be maxed out. You should have your tanks, and you're ready for Alsace. When Alsace happens, you're going to want to go and kill France. So France, if you have Belgium on your side, the easiest point to break through, especially if they didn't do the border for its focus, is you do the plains over here in northern France. If you don't have access through Belgium, then the easiest spot to break through over here is this tile next to Verdun. You have 2 tiles you can attack it from. So what you do is you push in over here. Once you control this tile, you push into Verdun from these 2 tiles over here to get kind of like your initial breakthrough point. And then you use your bridges trait on your general to push over these over here. And then you want to wrap around from that point, and you're going to want to go for a pin against the Swiss border over here, and you want to encircle and destroy all these units. That's what you're going for. When you push in through Belgium, you're looking to I have it set up to break through near Lille. And we probably want to push out over here, and we're going to try and maybe encircle these guys. Either a short encirclement through there, or we push out and we try and come maybe this way a little bit and wrap around the coast to destroy this part of the army. If you find this is too much infantry in the front line, you're getting supply block, then you can grab some of these guys, like maybe send a stack over to the east or something like that. So that's that. And for air, we have our scout planes and we have our bombers up over here. Other stuff, we have both the army, the maneuver and armored spearhead army command, and we got Krupp to get the extra factory speed. You get this. You want to get this when you start building military factories. 20% is obviously better than the 5%. Then you get the Daimler for the soft attack and reliability on your tank, which you want to get probably as your first political power spend after partial mobilization. Sorry, after attaché to AUS. So your political power spending order is you go partial mob, you send an attaché to the AUS to get yourself your army experience, which you will need, And then you're going to go and pick up your tank manufacturer, then you get Krupp, then you get Army Command, and then when you want Head of Intelligence, you can grab Head of Intelligence. We also have run one collaboration on Russia, so they'll surrender a little bit easier. And we have some infiltration in the French army that we ran with. And we have also infiltration in the British Navy. So we have 100% Navy intel in Union Britain, which is pretty nice. And I think over here too, we also have their ciphers. Well, 123 days. It must have just hit an upgrade. But we have Union Britain ciphers. So that'll be nice for us. That'll be nice for us. And so let's go ahead and I'll show you how to like push in through Belgium over here. We'll go, then it's war. And like this run, like I got really lucky with the flips. Like we got political power from like a bunch of different things, so we wound up with like a huge surplus. In the other build start that I was showing, we did not have such a surplus. And of course, once you go to war, you're gonna want to get on war economy as soon as possible. Although it looks like we are being blocked a little bit here, maybe because of the factories. Or we're not at war yet. That's why we can't take it. Alright, so now we're at war. Hit the button, go to war economy. And usually I like to break through on 3 speeds. We have this set up over here. And these 2 tanks we can hit at will. Alright, wait. You have to call in these guys first. Call these guys in, we can get some Austrian volunteers, that's fine. We should break that pretty fast. They do have forts, like the one fort breaks immediately, but you can also use Manstein's Fortress Buster ability if you wind up with a pretty rough stack. And we should have enough to just like straight hold on all these other areas. Alliance with Bulgaria, yes, but we already talked about that. We'll take Bulgaria. That at least prevents our trade overland from being knocked off. It looks like we do actually have a river over here that I didn't see, so we'll hit the bridge tactics. And we'll just restart that combat. So we'll do that. We'll bring our light tanks in. We can start pinning over there. We'll send the rest of these guys in this way. And then start splitting up our tanks to push through some more. Unfortunately, like in this this particular instance, there was not a whole lot of French units over here for us to like really wrap around and coast them. We can still push through. Alright, there comes Russia. Denmark wants to join, sure. If Denmark joins your faction, you need to make sure that you get your coast guards. You make sure you also defend Denmark. You don't want Denmark to cost you the game. And Georgia was in the Reichspakt over here. So we'll have to go over here. We'll just grab all of our... You probably actually just leave this. Drop those guys. Get a theater for the east. And we don't have to worry. You have to worry about if Ukraine, if you take all of Ukraine's troops and Russia has non-Cuban Union, they can just walk across this strait. But that's not the case this time. So Ukraine is also not our puppet, though. So we'll get the divisions from these guys. And I think Poland is also our puppet this game. Yeah, we puppeted them. So have these guys just like go to the front, go with Gerd, and they can just get whatever generals. And we're going to want to hold in the east, and then we'll try and hold them in the east and deal with do like the whole Schleifen plan trick. And air. I think I'm a bit glitched out over here. But you see, like, we are trading well, even though they have more planes than us. Our air is going to be late, but we have fighter twos and they don't. Having fighter 2, of course, is like a significant advantage. Just to keep on stretching out with your tanks here. Is our river crossing? It is. So we will need more command power, so we have to remember to recall your attaché. That was a mistake that I made. That. Now we can use our bridges ability. Let's get over that river. That's there to stop his attack for whatever reason. Get this pocket there. I didn't, those guys shouldn't be training another stat. We don't have enough room for them anyway, so we'll just cancel that, and that should fix our logistic problems. Key to the Reich. Usually I don't let the socialists operate. Lithuania has declared independence. We're gonna have to go to war with Lithuania, which is like a little bit annoying. But we'll just grab our coast guards over here. And Lithuania is probably weak enough that we can just like battle plan them out, I think. We'll just go ahead and do that. And Paris does have level 4 forts in it, so I should be using Manstein's Caesar ability. Grab that tile from another angle. That's over a river too. We don't want that. Move these guys over here and try and get around this plains tile instead. I don't usually like to help out the Entente, but you know, whatever. You know, the king can deal with his own mess. Sure, it's a kind gesture from Sweden. That's nice. A real stand-up chap. And once these guys take this tile, they'll be able to smash into Paris from this way. And close up this pocket here. We'll get White Ruthenian so we can attack Lithuania from this side. Call Poland to arms too. That guy is reckless. That is often want to happen, isn't it? It's a bit of a wasteful attack, but I want to. It's nice if Lithuania rebels if they do it early enough that it doesn't affect you in the war. But you know, it's can't have everything we want, right? These guys over here. So we have Paris. This is excellent. And I think maybe now we should try and cut off their army by pushing down this way. So our light tank's going to break through there soon too. We can just have these guys finish this pocket off. Actually, surprisingly, not that much broken shit. If you're satisfied with your current factory count, you can start building infrastructure out to the east. I think we're getting close to maxed out here anyways. I think we just let that battle plane go. I don't want to have to deal with Lithuania. We grab, go from this way into this tile here too. We'll get it from two directions. I should keep a unit there. We're gonna have these guys finish off this pocket there. Split up. You don't want to attack with more than 2 tanks at a given time. Just because of the combat width. Unless you're attacking from more than one direction. These guys attack those guys, they're on the work. All these bridges there. Sure, that's a river. Oh, it's not even a river, so that was like maybe a bit wasteful. So that's okay. In any case, like, I'm not gonna do like the whole cap in the guy, but that's how you break into France. You would basically carry out the same thing, use your tanks, maybe get these guys over here. Once you have like a breakthrough, like there's no units you see over here, you can kind of maybe lock these guys down and bring the rest of your light tanks over here, and then maybe go for like a rush. Try and spread out the lines over this way. And Spain, this game is in our faction too, so we could call them to arms if we would like to. So like that's how you break France. And then in order to go after the UK, use your fleet to beat theirs. And if we wanted our guys to go out and fight, we could send these guys out to patrol. Probably going to wait till we take the air first. And you have to make sure, because you have so many factories in fighter that you're going to be building a lot of them. So you don't want to forget to keep on throwing out your air wings. And at this point, we are getting closer to air superiority parity, and we are absolutely shredding their planes, it looks like, even though we are outnumbered. So we have that. When you want to invade the Union of Britain, you're going to want to make a Marines template. Sorry, just be create empty. And you can either go with something like this, a 14.4 Marine template. Like engineers and like sport arty. So you go with like a template like this, or your other alternative is you duplicate your tank template and you replace these guys with Marines. You wind up with this, which if you have the spare tanks is like maybe a little bit stronger. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set up a naval invasion, and you're going to have you can either go for Dover over here. You can invade this port and this port with regular infantry, or they're not ports, but this tile and this tile with regular infantry, and then you attack with your Marines or your tanks into the port. Or you can go for Plymouth and you can attack this tile, this tile, this tile, and this tile to kind of isolate the port, and you can attack there with your Marines. Or you can go for Portsmouth over here and you can kind of get the land a few adjacent tiles, and then again try and take the port with your actual Marine units. And once your other infantry land over here, you can attack from either sides into that to help you win, take that port faster. I like to go usually for Union of Britain very fast after France caps. I don't want to give them too much time to organize and like set up defenses on their island. But that's like the best places to do that. Dover is a plains tile, which is easier to attack. So is Portsmouth. Plymouth is like, this is nice. You can get this cut off in this surround, but this is also a marsh tile, which is like a bit easier, a bit harder to push into. Otherwise, if you have the, you can also come around once you've got France. And you can land in, where is it? I think over this tile over here. Glasgow is a plains tile. And you can take this tile, this tile, this tile, this tile, and again push into it from those sides. And if you land troops over here and you control this tile, you can also build your own port over here too, and just defend with your infantry if you're having problems taking that. And that's like another way to get a foothold on the UK. You do want to make sure, like, they don't have Bay of Biscay blocked off, and they probably should. You want to make sure that you have enough destroyer escorts and you have your actual sea zones escorted that your supply is going through, so that you can actually get supply to your invasion force. Otherwise, that can be a problem for you. And then killing Russia. Killing Russia is like usually not that difficult. Like you can see over here, we have like superiority on this line even after Lithuania like rebelled against us. Like we have like way better numbers than them on this line. They can't really do anything. Like even in Finland, it looks like they have some problems. So Russia is basically like, they got neutered so hard with this divisions cap. Like they're probably at like 150 divisions. They got neutered so hard with the divisions cap that like they can't really do anything. And like you could honestly probably just battle plan it. Once you killed France, you get your tanks over here. The fastest way to do it though is just to make a breakthrough and just drive all your tanks around, just like grab as many victory points as you can, and especially if you have the collaboration government, they can collapse. They should collapse with the collaboration around after you push the Urals to Katerinburg is when you should be looking for that cap. If you don't have that, you need to push it like even further. Even for like, I think I have to get to Vierny or something like that sometimes to actually get them to throw in the towel way past the Urals. And that's basically it. And that's how you win your first Germany game if you want to play Germany. Researches after the war starts, like mech is good to have, and factories you can like, because you're gonna be building factories anyways. Maybe you want to upgrade to mech, so you could pick up mech. This will also improve your tank units. So I'm just gonna pick mech. Other stuff that you could get this. You could get this. We are behind a little bit on our engineers, and like some logistics companies would be nice to have too. When you push into Russia, and if you're worried about doing the Sea Lion, you might want to grab extra transport tech. And of course, you want to continue down your Doctrine path to strategic destruction and mobile warfare. I don't usually bother investing in Navy Doctrine, but if you do want to improve your Navy, you get trade interdiction, you get these 3 techs here. They're the most helpful. If you're going to be fighting, if you're more concerned about escort, you would just go for the escort line in Fleet and Being. And computing technology is nice to pick up too as well. And then of course, you want to keep on top of your industry. So if I go back over here just to, so I guess I can save this here. If I go back to one with the Worcester, I will show you the research tree of what you should have at 1939. So your research tree should be something like this. You've got not a whole lot of infantry tax, but you did pick up the first improved infantry equipment with a 50% discount, and you're researching this with a 50% discount. This will be done very fast after the war starts. We haven't put anything into support technology. Engineers might be something you want to pick up pretty soon after the war starts. And of course, we don't really have a whole lot of support equipment in the stockpile right now, but you could put more factories that you're building onto that if you wanted to put engineers in your infantry, which some people like to do. Tanks, you'll have up to medium tank 2 researched, ready to go in production. Artillery, you'll have the 1939 artillery. You'll have the first 3 mobile warfare techs, and you'll be working on the next one in line. Nothing in the Navy or Naval Doctrine branches. Air, we will have the Fighter 2 plane also in production, and I did convert all the fighters that we had over. Kaiserreich allows you to upgrade, so we can upgrade medium 1s to medium 2s, and you can upgrade interwar fighters to Fighter 2s. So that's what I did, and we've had that for a while now, and we have like a decent amount of production efficiency on 40 factories in air. So we have that, and we're researching the first with a discount from our faction. We're researching strategic destruction. We have radio, we have the first computing tech, and then industry, we have everything on par, and including the fuel refining. I see a lot of people also getting excavation early too, which is also like pretty dumb in my opinion. Like if you look at your resource situation as the Germans, like what you're importing some aluminum for your planes from German East Asia, which you get 1 factory for 16 anyways, and you're importing some tungsten also from German East Asia. And you extract barely any tungsten. So I mean, this would help you like a little bit. Excavation might help you a little bit with the aluminum. But is that worth a whole research slot to take early on? You could just get aluminum at 16 for 1 from German East Asia. Probably not, in my opinion. And it won't help you with your tungsten at all. And if you leave these for later on, like because you're in a tech sharing faction, you can get these at a 50% discount if you leave them. So I don't really think the excavation techs are too important, but I do see a lot of people get those in single player. If you're playing multiplayer and your faction mates need your resources, and you have to prioritize excavation, but in single player, not really. So I think that's about it that I have for this Germany build. If you're interested in playing the Kaiserreich, I hope that helps you out. And again, I will post a link in the video description to a Reddit post that has like a tech version of like the different research orders and focus orders and stuff, so you can follow along if you want to. Levy Freeman signing out.